What's up, everybody? Point of Attack Football back for another video. Today I'm going to be breaking down the Carolina Panthers per request. Had a couple people asking me to do it, so I think it's about time. So Carolina Panthers last year, 6-10. They had a down year from 2015 when they were 15-1 and went to the Super Bowl, and Cam Newton was, MVP season type. So, what was the difference from 2015 to 2016 when almost the entire team was exactly the same? Minus Josh Norman getting, traded away or leaving, however it happened, minus him, what was really the difference from the 2 years? And the biggest difference I can see was they got bit by the injury bug bad. And at every position, key position, it seems like, they got bit by the injury bug, and that will be the fastest thing to take your team down. So, you start on the offensive side of the ball, their offensive line. Ryan Khalil, misses half the season. That guy's, a 9-year vet, absolutely, phenomenal center, one of the best in the league, hands down. And, he misses half the year. So that hurts really bad right there. Your line general, who's going to, tell everybody else what to do, is out. So you got to use a backup. So right off the bat, that kind of hurts. And then you had Cam Newton, big guy, 6'5", 245. He's big, he's mobile, he's got a really strong arm. He started to realize last year that he can't leave the pocket okay these days, because he's going to take solid hits, and he saw that last year. And you're not going to get a flag because once you leave the pocket, you're considered a runner. So, the one thing he has to get better with is reading defenses and sitting in the pocket and going through his progressions and making the right read and making the right throws. And he can absolutely do that. He's been getting better and better every year. Last year was kind of tough for him because he was, he only threw for 3,500 yards, and he had 19 touchdowns, but he also had 17 turnovers, which, is rough. He had 14 interceptions and 3 fumbles lost. So, you're only getting 2 more touchdowns than you are turnovers. And like I said, even with injuries, he got banged up last year, and, he missed the game because of concussion protocol and stuff like that, because he's taking hits. So he's got to be like he was in 2015 and stay in the pocket a little longer, look downfield, try to make the throws. Because when he was MVP in 2015, he threw for 3,800 yards, 35 touchdowns, and only 10 interceptions. And he had 1 fumble loss. So only had, 11 total turnovers. And he had a passer rating of 99.4. So, he needs to have another year like that. And I think he absolutely can bounce back. This is a team that is still very solid. Their offensive line is going to be healthy and solid. So I think Cam Newton is going to be very, very good again this year. You have his security blanket in Greg Olsen, another guy, 6'5", 255. The guy is as consistent as it gets since the time he came in the league. He's been one of, the top 5 tight ends every single year. This guy is the epitome of consistency. Every single year, this guy averages about 80 receptions. He's targeted over 100 times a year. So, he's going to get his catches. He didn't have many TDs last year. He only had 3 TDs, but he had over 1,000 yards. So, the TDs will come in time, but it's not a huge deal. A lot of time when they get down around the goal line, they were handing it off. But Greg Olsen, being as consistent as he is, he's one guy that hasn't been hit by the injury bug. He's been healthy almost entire career. He's played a full season every year except his rookie year when he only missed 2 games. So, that's a guy that you can count on, and that's going to be Cam's security blanket. So he's a very, very good tight end, and he will be again this year because he's just a phenomenal player. Jonathan Stewart at running back, this guy's a load, 5'10", 240. He's a big reason why Olsen only had 3 touchdowns, because when they get down around the goal line, they're handing it off a lot to him. He didn't quite have 1,000 yards. He had like 840, but he had 9 touchdowns, which shows they give him the ball down around the goal line because he is a load, and he's tough to stop down there. I mean, you just think about his center of gravity when he lowers down. He probably gets down to around 5'7", 5'8", which ain't real tall, and 240 pounds. So he's a little bowling ball, and he's deceptively quick. So, he can make it happen. And then he's had a problem with consistency, though. That has been Jonathan Stewart's MO. He only played 13 games last year, and the past 3 years, he's only played in 13 games. And he hasn't played a full season since 2011, which, is a problem. He's, in his 9th year, and he's only in 3 seasons started all 16 games. So he's got to get better with consistency. But even if he doesn't, they got a guy right behind him that they just drafted who I actually said I think is going to be offensive rookie of the year and an absolute phenomenal player, and that's Christian McCaffrey. This kid is so dynamic. It's absolutely incredible. He's got the hands of a wide receiver. He's got the moves of a running back, and he's got the smarts of a quarterback. This kid's 6 foot, 205, 210, depending on, I guess, the day. But you watch him play, and he's just a game breaker. This guy is absolutely phenomenal. You're talking about a guy that in college was up for the Heisman Trophy twice, and he broke Barry Sanders' single season all-purpose yard record. And I mean, I ain't got to tell you, that's an incredible record to break, which many thought wouldn't be broken. And obviously it took 30 plus years to break it. So that shows you what type of player he is. He's got a phenomenal pedigree. His father, Ed McCaffrey, played in the league for a long time as a wide receiver. So that's probably why he has the hands that he has, because I'm sure he's been, trained probably since the day he could walk to catch a football and run and do everything that you need to do to be a solid football player. And that's a thing, just all around solid football player. You can forget all about the stats. There are certain things that, you can't use stats to see. And he's one of those guys, when you watch him, you can just see he can just play football. This guy is a player, and he's a humble kid. And it's just somebody like you want on your team. You love him. I mean, you could see how much passion he has for football. And even the fact that out of all the rookies, he signed his rookie contract before everybody. He was in camp like a day and automatically signed. Didn't ask for more money. They offered him a 3-year or 4-year, $24 million deal, and he was like, I'll take it. He'd been playing for free for the past 15 years probably. So, it's not about money with him. He wants to win, and he wants to win now. And I tell you what, with him and Cam, it is going to be a vicious combination, because now Cam's got a perfect dump off back and a third down back that he can dump it off to after he goes through progressions. If nobody's open, you can just dump it off to Christian, and he's just off with the races. I mean, if you watched him in the first preseason game, they didn't throw to him at all. I think they're maybe trying to hide some things in preseason, don't want to show their hand before the regular season starts. But, he had 7 carries for 35 yards. So even right there, he had a good day, 5 yards a carry. He's just going to be a phenomenal football player. I absolutely love this kid. And like I said, he's my pick for offensive rookie of the year. I think he's going to be great. Then you go outside, you got number 1 wide receiver, Kelvin Benjamin, who, is huge. Another guy, 6'5", 245. He can run, take the top off the defense. He's got to get a little more consistent. He had 941 yards last year and 7 TDs. But that was really his first year back, because the year before that they went to the Super Bowl, he missed the entire season with an injury. So look for him to be much better this year. And then you also have Devin Funches, who needs to be the number 2 wide receiver, and he needs to step in this year and really be the number 2 wide receiver and solidify that position, because they need it. They can't constantly have this carousel of guys going in and out and stuff like that. And then they drafted Curtis Samuel, who is a rookie out of Ohio State. He's fast. He's the slot receiver. He's going to be good for him. Hey, honey. So he's going to be good too. And he can be a perfect number 3. So right off the bat, you got to think that, they're going to be a high-flying offense this year. And if they stay healthy on offense, they're going to be right back to where they were in 2015 when they went 15-1 and were putting up, solid numbers on everybody. So, look for them to be seriously good on offense. And I don't think that'll be a problem for them to do because they're going to be. So, and then you move to the defensive side of the ball. And last year, they were 21st in total defense, which I don't have to tell you, isn't great. And they were coming off of a year prior to that in 2015, obviously when they went to the Super Bowl, where they were a top 6 defense. And, against the pass in 2015, they gave up 3,700 yards, which, ain't bad. And that was with Josh Norman. Now, losing Josh Norman was tough. And, you saw that transition because this year they gave up 600 more yards passing with like 4,300 yards they gave up. And you had, 2 first-year corners with Darryl Worley and James Bradbury. And they were just starting to get their feet underneath them. And I tell you what, towards the end of the season, they started to play very well and play like solid veterans. So this year, it being their second year, I think they're going to be much improved. Now that they have a year under their belt, they're starting to understand what offenses are trying to do against them. And then bringing in Captain Mullerlin again, which, he started his career in Carolina and was very good. Then he went to Minnesota and had another couple good years. And, he came back to Carolina and they needed to bring another corner in, and Captain Mullerlin is a very good corner. So in the secondary, I think they're going to be much improved. And their linebacking core obviously is very good. You got Shaq Thompson, Thomas Davis, and Luke Kuechly. And Luke Kuechly is, probably the second best linebacker in the league next to Khalil Mack. This guy covers so much ground. He can tackle. He's just fundamentally phenomenal linebacker. He's always around the ball. He's just a really, really good linebacker. I always said I compared him to Teddy Bruschi from the Patriots because he had a nose for the football. And he was always around to play. So he's very good. And hopefully he won't have concussion issues like he did last year, because you could see that took a toll on him mentally as well. And, I think he even debated retiring this year because of, the issues with CTE and brain injuries and him getting a couple concussions. But I think he put it behind him, and I think he's going to move on this year and, try to get it done. And hopefully he can avoid concussions, because that's not good for anybody. You don't want to see an athlete get hurt, especially long-term effects. So hopefully he'll avoid that. And then you have Thomas Davis, who is an absolute phenomenal veteran, just consistent as hell, just like Greg Olsen. Same thing every year. He starts every game, he plays. He's a savvy vet. He's very good. And Shaq Thompson, been in the league now a couple years, and he's going to be good. He covers very well. He's big. So I think defensively they're going to be back to where they were. And of course, this all revolves around whether or not they can stay healthy. If they stay healthy, I think they're going to have an extremely, extremely good year and bounce back from where they were. They won't be another 6-10 team, because 6-10 is not indicative of who they were. It's just they got bit by the injury bug, and that's how they wind up finishing. But their schedule isn't easy either. Obviously, they play in the NFC South, so they're going to have to play the Saints and Tampa and Atlanta. And I have to tell you, Tampa is going to be much improved. They're going to be very good. Atlanta was a Super Bowl team. Granted, they're going to run a new scheme on offense and stuff like that, but you would have to think that they're going to be good again this year. And granted, everybody, talks about the Super Bowl slump the year after, and that's possible. It could happen, but they're still a solid football team, and even the Saints are much improved. Drew Brees is a monster and has been forever. So he's still got good wide receivers. They brought in Adrian Peterson, so his division in itself is very hard. That's not going to be an easy division. And they play the AFC East, so you got to worry about the Dolphins and the Patriots and the Bills. And then they're going to play the NFC North too, where you have the Packers and Minnesota, and their two crossover games are San Francisco and Philly. So, and Philly, I think, is going to be much improved too. So their schedule is not real easy, but as long as they stay healthy, I think they'll be able to trek right through it. I think they're a 10-win team, and expect them to be very, very good this year. So I appreciate all you guys watching. Remember to go to my channel, subscribe, like, watch, share. I appreciate all the love. Peace.